This is the original bug
Yeah.
that I reported with the slow-moving
Reaper's
projectiles.
Touch. It never passed.
I'm gonna mute the audio. You'll see here the tooltip used to say obstructed. That's the main reason I wanted this video. Yeah, it's stupid. Anyways, so let's start over. So what I wanted to showcase here was the fact that the obstructed tooltip that used to be in the game has been changed to miss, and also just the problem with slow-moving projectiles. So what I want you to do again is just strafe dodge the projectiles as I showed you before. I'm going to turn Fireball on autocast. Autocast, there we go. Let's go ahead, strafe dodge. So as you see, if he strafes, the projectiles try to predict. This can easily be fixed by allowing the projectiles to redirect mid-cast, kind of like Warrior Rampage Boulder does. Let me. There we go. Now, if you blind me, you'll see it shares the tooltip as blind. So I have the blind debuff. I'm going to throw that. It's going to miss and go away with the blind debuff. So they literally took out the obstructed tooltip, which allowed the players to know whether their skill was obstructed versus blinded. And they just merged it with the blinded tooltip instead of actually fixing the projectile pathing bugs in the game, which I think is bad just because you're going to have players that think they got blinded when they didn't, and it's going to confuse the snot out of new players. They're not going to know the difference between whether their projectile bugged or whether they were blinded, and that's not going to help them. They're going to assume classes have blind access when they don't, and that's going to lead to a lot of confusion. So now I want to showcase a better projectile and a worse projectile. So stay there with me. If you make projectiles faster, like in the case of Ranger Longbow, or you make the projectiles redirect in the case of the new Reaper's Touch, which was the original video I had made, it's a lot better. So we're going to start with a Ranger example. Then we're going to go to the Reaper, and then we're going to showcase the Guardian Torch, which is probably the worst right now in terms of this bug. Oop. Let's join my server. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to equip a longbow. And I'll showcase the fact that if you speed up the projectiles, that it can get around the bug. Part of the problem is it's predictive pathing on the strafing. And if the projectile is faster, it's harder to strafe dodge. So we're going to start with this. So I want you to try to strafe dodge my rapid fire. All right, you ready? It's about the same distance. It's very hard to strafe dodge because the projectiles are moving fast enough. Even though there is predictive pathing, he can't get out of the hitbox in time. Back to character select. We're going to go to Guardian, and we're going to throw a torch on. Now, some of the builds I'm on are pretty meme and were just like test builds, so just ignore the builds I'm running. But this is more about pathing and particular skill uses. So we're going to throw a torch. So torch 4, you hit it, it does a player-based AoE around you, and then you throw it, and it sends out a projectile. Well, the projectile it sends out is notoriously buggy. So I want to see if this is also one that can be jump avoided. So we're going to go Radiance just so I can proc it back quicker. And we're just going to go Paladin so I don't kill too fast so we can actually do testing. Okay. I want to put a Scepter on just for easier procking. of the torch auto. Okay, a lot of times people get around this bug because they actually mob their target. And even then it can be buggy. So I want you to try jumping over the fireball that travels to you, Umi. So, okay, this one doesn't look like it can be jumped, which means the hitbox at least is big enough that it can't be jumped. But we're going to try it again real quick, just to be sure. Try jumping it. Okay, yeah, it's going to be hard to jump. Go ahead and use your heal. Now, if you strafe dodge, this one's really wonky. So just strafe dodge these. So what you need to do to strafe dodge this, by the way, is just back and forth, and then when you see it travel, just pick a direction. Don't keep going back and forth. Note the range is for the throw 1200, which I am well in. Let me, I gotta throw it quicker. Refresh it. And there's another example of the wonky projectile pathing with Orb of Wrath, which is also notoriously buggy. Strafe dodge. There we go. He just strafed one way and back, and it couldn't path. Which is particularly bad even for a strafe dodge projectile, strafe dodgeable projectile. So that's what I want you to do again. Just strafe one way, and when you see me fire the projectile, start strafing the other way. Oh, I didn't have you targeted, so that doesn't really count. Alright, again, just the auto. And the slower the projectile, the easier it is to strafe dodge. And sometimes it passes okay. Other times it's a really wonky pathing. And because especially in competitive modes where everyone's a lot of times strafing to allow themselves to continue to hit their target, this is particularly bad. And you'll notice better players that are aware of this bug a lot of times when they see, like, you have a short bow equipped. When they see someone firing like short bow autos at them, so go ahead and short bow auto me. A bad player might just run around like this. But a good player, when they see this, keep firing, will try to avoid as many projectiles as they can. And short bow is one of the faster ones. And I was still able to avoid one or two autos there. Keep firing. I'm going to do it from farther away. So the farther away you are, as you can see, the easier to avoid. You see how many of those projectiles I avoided. The part of the problem is when you're just WASDing, the projectiles can predict pretty well. But when you start strafing, the projectiles predict very poorly. And it's something with the underlying coding of the projectiles. Now, there are ways of getting around this. Like I said, you can make projectiles faster. They can redirect. Or they can have a bigger hitbox. Any of these will alleviate the issue. And there's a lot of projectiles in the game, like Orb of Wrath, like Torch 4, like Staff Autos on Ellie, that really need this treatment. So I showcased one good example with Ranger of a quicker projectile. I want to showcase a redirecting projectile. I think Reaper has the quickest one. Rampage Warrior Boulder is probably the most notorious for it, because you can throw it around corners by getting it to redirect. Which can sometimes piss off players. But this is a good example. So the old Torch 4, which is, and even the Dagger 4 on Reaper are good examples of this. So Dagger 4 is another case of a slow-moving projectile, but it redirects. We're going to use Focus. Because in my original video, it was about Reaper's Touch, which got reworked into Soul Grasp. Reaper's Touch was probably the worst pathing projectile in the entire game's history, to my knowledge, and it got reworked. The next worst one was the Guardian Focus, which also got a rework. It also had a really bad one. It sent out a little blinding, slow-moving projectile that could be avoided. Um, but here we go. So I want you to try shape dodge this, and you'll notice that Soul Grasp will redirect. It will try to like repath mid pathing. See that? He started the strafe dodge. It was moving out one way, and then it did a 90-degree turn to follow him through the strafe. This is one way of fixing slow-moving projectiles. So I'll do it again. Strafe dodge. And there you saw it again. It does a 90-degree turn and redirects. Um, that is another very good way. And you'll see it better if I'm facing a slightly different direction. See if I can retarget it. No, I can't. Okay. So if I face this way, it goes out and it redirects. It's a little more obvious if you fire it off like a terrain difference too. Yeah. But that is one way of dealing with it, is to allow the projectile to redirect. So straight dodge again. I want to see if I can get a little bit of a better one from farther away, because I think this is 1200 range. Yeah, 1200. So keep straight dodging. And there you see it again. It came out this way and redirected. So that's what can be done. So there's some examples of properly reworked projectiles and some of the bad projectiles that are still in the game. And also the fact that they have changed the tooltip from obstructed to miss, which I think is bad for new players. If ANET could address this, that would be amazing. But we'll see. Thank you. Bye.